So this is a message for all you sole proprietors or sole proprietor wannabes. Here's why an LLC protects your assets from lawsuits. Okay, let me give you an introduction. I'm Paul Rabley. I'm an estate planning attorney. I help our clients get and keep their legal affairs in order. Now, many people out there, they do business without any kind of formal business entity. You know, they just started a business. Maybe they do some construction projects on the side. Maybe they have a store. Maybe they sell stuff. Or here's a big one. Maybe they own some rental property, either residential property or commercial property. And so they're just doing it out of their own name. Maybe they have a kind of doing business as name, but they have no formal business entity. So they're what's called a sole proprietor. And as a sole proprietor, you may enter into contracts and leases and, obligate your business to do certain things. But the problem with a sole proprietorship is when you do business as a sole proprietor, you are personally responsible for all of the business's debts. So if things don't go exactly as planned and the business, owes someone money under a contract, or someone files a lawsuit because of certain business activity and they're successful in their lawsuit, they're going to sue you personally because there is no formal entity to sue. And so sole proprietors, when they have a problem, third parties out there are going to look at the owner of that sole proprietorship. And if they're successful in their lawsuit against the business, which means against you, then you are going to be personally responsible for those debts or for satisfying that judgment. So then someone could take your bank accounts, your house, take your business assets, and again, state law can vary on what assets of yours personally are exempt from seizure. But here in Louisiana, they can take your house except for a little bit of equity and your bank accounts and vehicles and and your business and assets and other things that you own because you are personally responsible for all of the debts of the business. All right, so that scares some people, and it probably should. We're in a very litigious society, and people sue at the drop of a hat these days. So many people in business form what's called an LLC. Let's get the lingo right. LLC stands for Limited Liability Company. Some people mistakenly call it a limited liability corporation, but it's not. It's a limited liability company. They're easy to form. Some paperwork is prepared and filed with the Secretary of State, with your state. And then you do business through your formal entity called your LLC. And there are laws in place, which I'm going to show you in a second, or at least tell you about them in a second, which say that people who own, work for, or run businesses operating as an LLC, they're not personally responsible for the debts of the business. I know it's, state legislatures out there, they want there to be a really positive business environment. They want to allow people to create businesses and take some risks because it's those businesses that employ people and are good for the economy. So states have a pro-business environment and want to protect those business owners. So what I like to do when it's appropriate is show you the law, or at least tell you what it is, so that you'll have some comfort. And I printed off our LLC protection from liability statute, and I thought I'd just mention a couple of sentences. There's a whole body of law on LLCs, and I've done lots of teachings on that, but there's a statute in particular. It's called Louisiana Revised Statutes 12:1320. And I'm not even going to read all of it. I'm just going to go over the appropriate parts of it. So in one part of that statute in our Louisiana LLC law, it says that no member, a member is an owner of an LLC, no member, manager, a manager is someone who manages or runs the LLC. No member, manager, employee, you know what an employee is, or agent of a limited liability company is liable in such capacity for a debt, obligation, or liability of the limited liability company. All right, so there you have it. No member, manager, employee, or agent of an LLC is liable for a debt, obligation, or liability of the LLC. So that's the statute that creates that protection for the people who run, work for, and or are agents of an LLC. All right, and then it goes on to talk about some procedural rules. It says a member, manager, employee, or agent of a limited liability company is not a proper party to a proceeding by or against a limited liability company. So that means if the LLC has a debt and somebody sues, they're not to sue the member, manager, employee, or agent. They are to sue the LLC. So, and then it goes on to say that, well, except when there's fraud or a breach of professional duty, and so all bets are off when there's fraud that takes place. All right, so there's a quickie version of just the highlight of the statute, which actually gives people who own, work for, run limited liability companies or LLCs, gives them that personal protection. So let's say you do own an LLC, and let's say there is an issue and somebody does sue the LLC, and they get a successful judgment for $1 million against the LLC. Well, the owners, if the owner personally has bank accounts and savings and a house and real estate, the owner's personal assets are not subject to the LLC's debts. Now, sure, a person who successfully sues the LLC could potentially recover assets of the LLC, but not assets of the owner of the LLC personally. All right, so that hopes that kind of clears up that why do LLCs give business owners more liability protection than operating as a sole proprietor would. All right, so hope that helps. We'll see you next time. I'm Paul Rabelais. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell to my channel so you don't miss anything. Oh, by the way, we want to make sure that since this is an estate planning channel, we do set up a lot of people as we're getting their legal affairs in order. Some people have a business, some people own rental property as part of getting their legal affairs in order. We create those LLCs and title the appropriate assets in the LLCs, and then we want to make sure that if you do own an LLC, all of the estate planning aspects of it are addressed, such as, who should inherit that LLC. And then for some, they want to make sure that there can be a really fast and smooth transition of that business in the event of the death of the owner or member of the LLC. So sometimes the LLC member/owner will transfer his LLC to a trust so that the transfer of that LLC after the owner's death doesn't get tied up in the court proceedings, where sometimes it's really important for people to have immediate access to handle business matters when the primary owner of the LLC dies. So there's all those issues as well. Okay, y'all have a great day. We'll see you next time.